Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about news and an opinion thrown into it about the Rollei 35AF that's being done in partnership with Mint. This is a camera that's been coming around for a couple years from Mint, and they've been announcing, like in the development blog, step by step of their proceedings and what they've been doing and how it's been going. Until a couple weeks ago, they announced that it basically is going to be labeled Rollei, just like this Rollei 35 I have in my hand. And it looks very much like the legendary Rollei, but it has a few features in it. I'm going to first read through the email and what they sent, and then I'll give my feelings about what I think about this brand and so on, which I did in the news and maybe wasn't the place to do, but I think this is a better place to write. So I'm going to be reading through my email. First of all, does this camera shoot film? 35mm film. Is the camera full frame or half frame? Rollei 35AF is a full frame film camera. This looks like a pun at the Pentax semi-announcement. What are the options? Aperture. What are the available aperture options? f2.8, f4, 5.6, 8, 11, and 16, which is actually really nice. What is the lens on the new Rollei 35AF camera? We went all in on the lens this time. The lens on the Rollei 35AF is a 5-element all-glass lens with coatings on every side. What's the focal length of the lens? The focal length of the lens is 35mm, arguably the most popular choice among street photographers. What material is used for the camera body? It's a metal body. Will there be a mint version of the camera? This camera will be exclusively Rollei. What will be the price of this camera? $650 to $800 US dollars, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So this announcement comes a bit of a surprise. I think the whole Rollei branding was something nobody expected, considering that Mint had been developing this product and mentioning it on their blog for a very long time. But they have also said that they've outpoured all their money into the development of this project, and even the company's well-being might be in hands of this project. So this camera, for example, the new one, not this one, at the price of coming out was around $3,000 US dollars if you do the conversion for inflation and so on. So this camera coming at $650 to $800 US dollars is extremely affordable from that perspective of the time this was the camera sold. But you have to bear in mind the market of used cameras is plentiful. There's a lot of options out there and the prices are not what they used to be. So they are affordable-ish. And yes, the price of used cameras have kept going up. But this is a new camera development with AF by LiDAR. So LiDAR is the way focusing is used in some phones. And I think even some DJI has a LiDAR follow focus and technology, so it's kind of new. It's like a radar kind of system. It kind of maps things. It's kind of cool. So the fact that they're using that technology built into a body that looks very much like the Rollei and labeling it Rollei is pretty cool. And I've aired my concerns about the fact that it's labeled Rollei, and I'll tell you why. As we've seen with other examples, film camera brands that kind of lost their market, or they kind of went bankrupt or were up to purchase, kind of became household names with nothing else than a trademark name. This happened to Polaroid. We all saw the Polaroid TVs, Polaroid sunglasses, Polaroid radio cassette players, AM radios, whatever. Like they Polaroid everything. And it wasn't until years later that the brand had lost so much of its identity that the actual Impossible Project and then Polaroid Originals was able to purchase the trademark for probably pennies on the dollar versus what it was when it actually went bankrupt. And that kind of was a good story. It kind of did the full circle. We went from bankruptcy to like rebranding to suddenly we had it again into the actual film manufacturing and processing and all this stuff that we see from Polaroid, which is really cool. We've seen this happen with Yashica. Yashica went bankrupt. Yashica cameras, I actually have a Yashica, that's not a Rollei, it's a Yashica 44. That kind of like legacy brand was purchased by some entity, I think in Hong Kong, and came back with a big announcement, and it was the DG film, which actually, if you think about it, it's kind of like film recipes for the Fuji X100 series, which is kind of funny because that's extremely popular. But it was like a cassette that had presets setting into it, and you put it into a camera, and that kind of failed in a way. And then Yashica has turned into kind of a holo brand. And it's sad because Yashica has a lot of legacy and great cameras from the era of film cameras. but now it's kind of like meh. The last thing they've come out is with some 4K night vision goggles. Tell me what that has to do with film cameras. And then we have examples of ongoing rebranding and things like that that is interesting, like Kodak. Kodak, who makes our favorite films like Portra, and they make Ektar, and they make Trix, and they make Tmax, and they make all these cool products for film photographers, now also has kind of like sublet their logo and trademark for tons of collaborations. They have the one with Retro Photo that makes the cool cases, like the retro vibes. They make the single, not the single use, sorry, what I call the disposable reusable cameras, like those plastic one shutter speed, one aperture cameras that are so popular, the H35 and H35N. They're making with Brava, a brand that makes clothing, and I put this fleece on purpose because it's like stamped with Kodak all over it. And they're making all these kind of collaborations. They made a camera strap, they're making batteries, they're making all kinds of things that have nothing to do with the film production in Rochester. And that kind of is dissolving the brand in a way. You could go, I think, to Forever 21 and buy t-shirts made by Kodak. But they were not really Kodak in Rochester or the traditional. They're kind of cool, but they're not the same thing. And that is what happened kind of to Rollei. Rollei, the camera in question I have in my hands and the one that's being announced in collaboration or made by Mint for Rollei, was the one that made Rolleiflexes. It made the SL66, made the Rolleiflex 2.8F, 3.5F, the Rollei cord, the 6000 series, like the 35 and the 35S and 35T and 35 LED and all these cameras that were superb back in the day, even a 35mm line of reflex cameras that are not that popular, but they had a lot of value in the brand. And when it got bankrupt in 2000, I think it was 12, got dissolved into multiple brands. One of them held the medium format cameras, that was DHW, that then went also bankrupt and turned to DW, which sells like HY6, which is kind of like AF 6x6 camera. If you don't know about that, you should Google it. It's a really cool camera. And they're kind of still holding on. Then there's the brand that bought Rollei as to like a relabel and repackage things that are made by others, which is currently the one that's going to put their name on this camera made by Mint. And that, if you go to the website, you go Rollei, I think it's .com, I'll put the link below and on screen, and you search for products made by Rollei, there are action cameras, video cameras, green screens, tripods, gimbals, LED lights, all kinds of things like that. And they're all probably not manufactured by Rollei. They're now based in Hamburg. And this is probably just, hey, it's a brand. They put the trademark on these things. And Rollei has such a household name from back in the day. And they're probably still selling fine. Nothing wrong with it. And it's perfectly good business to, you know, buy products from like a big manufacturer, put a brand on it, and sell them forward. But now when we see them announcing a film camera, it kind of comes at a weird, to me, it's a weird mix. Like, I give credit to Mint to doing and developing amazing products for the past few years. I'm taking my hat off virtually and physically in front of Gary Ho, I think is his name, the founder of Mint and what he's done at Photokinas. And I still think the day I met him, I did a Photokina interview. I was like, man, the Mint RF70 is a rangefinder camera that's basically medium format, shoots Instax wide, has a central shutter or leaf shutter inside, syncs up to 1/500th of a second with flash, built-in flash, whatnot, like all the features. Like if that was a 6x7 camera, it'd be a plow bill. The quality of the build is maybe arguable, but that camera could have taken a roll of 120 and been the new GF670. But it's Mint, and they've done this work, and they've been working and fighting and doing this thing. But now seeing them partner with a name that has not much else but a name, kind of, to me, gives me a bit of a bittersweet. I hope they're best, and I will promote their products, and I'll be happy with their products if they're good quality, for sure. But I kind of feel like Mint should have held to their branding. And maybe there's a reason that I don't know, that is maybe funding, or maybe the recognition of the camera, the classic logo and everything. Like, it really does make people reminisce the times of this, and that will help them. But that's why I feel like I feel, because there's all these examples of film camera names and companies, camera companies, that have held to the name and the tradition and used it for different purposes that maybe were not always so great. And seeing them, you know, kind of going into the film photography now is like, okay, but why? I don't know. It's just strange to me. And I would love to hear your opinion. That's why I make these opinion videos. I love reading the comments. I try to keep track on it. Last week with the Pentax one, I still haven't been able to go through all the comments and answer everybody, but I read most of them. And I love to know what you think about it. It is $650 to $800, which puts it at a little bit higher price than maybe some people expected. But you have to consider this kind of a point and shoot with LiDAR focusing and automatic aperture and all this stuff. That's going to be pretty cool. I've seen like the pictures and the renders and they look really nice. I feel like they're not showing the full girth of the camera. But from the looks of it, it has a lot to do with a Rollei, but the built-in flash, which is very puny. So that's probably going to be very like, I don't know, small flashes close to the lens is a bit of a problem. Point and shoots figured out that very soon with the red eye reduction and so on. But I'm excited. I'm really excited for them. I'm really excited about the announcement. I highly recommend you go check out the website and subscribe to their email listing. I did like last week, which was months after the announcement, and I still was within the 500th that could order or pre-order this camera. So maybe not a lot of people are that interested, and I think we should spread the word. It's good to see, but I'm very excited to see what they develop. I don't know who's going to win the race in this, the Pentax half frame or the Rollei 35 AF. Either way, it's good for 2024 to see these things coming out to market. I think film photography community needs like a win in this market. But yeah, that's my opinion on the Rollei 35 AF and why I don't love brands using their name past the legacy, even though it makes sense. I don't know if you understand what I mean. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.